Inner light, esoteric wisdom embarks on Tzimtzum and the void. How Lurianic Kabbalah explains the origin of infinite space. Throughout human history, the greatest minds have pondered the questions of beginnings. What is the origin of the universe? How does something arise out of nothing? Is emptiness simply a blank void, or is it a space charged with possibility? While physicists and philosophers continue to seek answers, the Jewish mystical tradition known as Kabbalah, and in particular, the revolutionary teachings of Isaac Luria, offer a vision that is at once mythic and metaphysical, poetic and profound. Today, Inner Light, Esoteric Wisdom invites you on a journey into the depths of one of the most daring ideas in all spiritual literature, the doctrine of Tzimtzum and the story of the void. We'll explore how Lurianic Kabbalah explains the origins of infinite space, why brokenness is at the heart of creation, and what role we humans play in the ongoing work of cosmic repair. The infinite paradox, confronting the Ein Sof. At the heart of Kabbalistic cosmology lies a riddle, the paradox of infinity. Before anything was, says the Kabbalah, there was only the Ein Sof, the boundless one God, as absolute, all-encompassing, and utterly beyond description. The Ein Sof is not simply very large or very old, but truly infinite, without end, limit, or definition. In such an undivided infinity, there appears to be no possibility for anything else to exist. If the divine presence fills all, how can there be room for a world that is not God? If the infinite is everywhere, what space remains for the finite, the particular, the separate? Earlier Kabbalists grappled with this dilemma through the concept of emanation, a gradual, cascading process in which the divine light is filtered, world by world, until it becomes sufficiently attenuated to allow for created things. Yet, though elegant, this solution leaves a residue of discomfort. If the world is merely a faint echo of the infinite, how can it possess true otherness? How can anything stand apart from the Ein Sof? It is this paradox, the problem of the infinite's relationship to the finite, that Rabbi Isaac Luria, known as the Ari, sought to address. Emerging in 16th century Sephard, a center of Jewish mysticism, Luria's teachings were nothing short of revolutionary. He proposed that the act of creation was not an expansion or overflow of the divine, but a withdrawal, a radical act of making space, of holding back, of self-limitation. Creation as withdrawal. The doctrine of Tzimtzum. Luria's vision begins with the daring and paradoxical doctrine of Tzimtzum. The word itself means contraction or withdrawal. According to Luria, the Ein Sof, in an act of supreme restraint, contracted its infinite presence, creating a primordial void, the Tehiru, at the center of being. This was not a physical space, but a metaphysical vacuum, a womb, carved out of infinity itself. Imagine, if you will, a boundless ocean of light. Then, in a movement that is neither temporal nor spatial, the light pulls back, leaving a hollow at its core. This is Tzimtzum, not a shrinking, but a holding back, not a negation, but a deliberate act of generosity and humility. For the first time, there exists a space in which something other than God can appear. The void is not abandonment, but a profound act of hospitality, an invitation to otherness, to freedom, to creativity. Yet The Tzimtzum is not a total withdrawal. Luria insists that the void is never wholly empty of the divine. Rather, it is permeated by traces, by echoes, by the possibility of return. This delicate balance between presence and absence, fullness and emptiness, is at the heart of Lurianic cosmology. The Tzimtzum, moreover, is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing process. At every moment, the world exists because the divine continues to make room for it, to hold back and allow space for freedom, relationship, and transformation. Creation in this vision is not finished, but perpetually unfolding. A drama in which the divine and the world dance in an endless rhythm of withdrawal and return. Mathematics and mysticism, the hollow and the trace. The notion of a void that is not truly empty but charged with possibility resonates far beyond the precincts of Kabbalistic speculation. Luria introduces the idea of the Reshimu, the trace or impression of the divine that remains in the void after the light has withdrawn. The Reshimu is like the scent left in an empty vessel, the echo of a song that lingers after the sound has faded. The void is not sheer nothingness, but a space marked by absence and presence, emptiness and potential. This insight finds uncanny parallels in the language of modern science. The vacuum of contemporary physics is not a simple emptiness, but a teeming field of energy, alive with fluctuations, virtual particles, and the potential for creation. In mathematics, the zero is not just an empty placeholder, but the very condition that makes calculation possible. Infinity, likewise, is not a number, but the horizon that gives meaning to the finite. For Luria, the Reshimu ensures that the void is always haunted by the memory of the light, always open to the possibility of renewal. It is the silent witness to the original fullness, the hidden guarantee that the world, for all its fragmentation, is never wholly cut off from its source. The Reshimu also serves as a bridge between the infinite and the finite. It is the subtle imprint of the divine within the void, the seed from which form and structure can emerge. The vessels that are soon to be formed in the next stage of the cosmic drama are shaped by the contours of this trace. They are at once empty and full, defined by what is missing as much as by what is present. The catastrophe of light, Shevirat HaKeilim, with the void established and the trace of the divine lingering within it, the next stage of creation unfolds. A single concentrated ray of divine light, the Kav, is projected into the vacuum. This is the moment when the infinite seeks to become manifest, to shine within the space of otherness and possibility. Within the void, a series of vessels, Keli, are formed, each intended to receive and contain the descending light. These vessels correspond to the Sephirot, the attributes or channels through which the divine energy is structured and expressed. But the process is fraught with danger. The light that pours into the vessels is too intense, too pure for the fragile structures that have been fashioned to receive it. In a moment of cosmic crisis, the vessels shatter an event known as Shevirat HaKeilim, the breaking of the vessels. The uncontained light bursts forth, and the shards of the broken vessels, each still clinging to fragments of the original light, tumble into the depths of the void. This shattering is both a catastrophe and a necessity. The world in Luria's vision is not a seamless emanation from the divine, but a field of tension, brokenness, and exile. The divine light, meant to illuminate and animate creation, is scattered and concealed. The vessels, designed to embody order and harmony, are broken and dispersed. The Shevirat HaKeilim thus introduces a note of tragedy at the very core of existence. The universe is born not out of perfection, but out of brokenness. A cosmos marked by the scattering of sparks, the concealment of meaning, and the perpetual struggle between order and chaos. Yet, paradoxically, this catastrophe is also the source of possibility, diversity, and freedom. The broken vessels, with their imprisoned sparks, give rise to the multiplicity and dynamism of the world. The universe is not a static reflection of the divine, but a living process, charged with the memory of catastrophe and the hope of repair. Architecture of the Shards, the world of brokenness. With the shattering of the vessels, the drama of creation enters its most complex phase. The shards of the broken Keilim, each holding a remnant of divine light, fall deeper into the void. These fragments give rise to the physical world, to the world as we know it, a world of multiplicity, limitation, and materiality. The Kabbalists describe these fragments as being encrusted in shells or Kelipot. The Kelipot are layers of resistance, opacity, and darkness that surround and conceal the sparks of light. It is this mixture of light and darkness, order and chaos that forms the substance of reality. The void, once imagined as a barren emptiness, now appears as a dense field of potential, a graveyard of celestial energy, waiting to be released. The Kelipot symbolize, on one level, the stubbornness and limitation of the material world, the inertia of things, the resistance of matter, and the opacity of experience. On a deeper level, they represent the psychological and spiritual barriers that separate us from our own inner light. Habits, fears, wounds, and illusions that obscure the spark within. But the Kelipot are more than obstacles. They are also the conditions for growth, creativity, and transformation. Without resistance, there could be no striving. Without concealment, no revelation. Without exile, no homecoming. The world is not merely a fallen state, but a field of opportunity, a place where the work of repair and restoration can begin. In this vision, every object, every moment, every relationship is a site where light and darkness meet, where the possibility of liberation is always present. The world is not a finished product, but an ongoing process, a drama in which our actions have the power to gather the scattered sparks, to mend the broken vessels, to restore the world to its original wholeness. Restoration from the void, Tikkun Olam, and the human role. At the heart of the Lurianic vision lies the doctrine of Tikkun Olam, the repair or restoration of the world. The scattering of sparks throughout the material realm is not an accident to be lamented, but a challenge and an opportunity. The cosmos is unfinished, and human beings are given the extraordinary dignity of participating in its repair. The process of Tikkun begins with awareness, with the recognition that every moment, every encounter is an opportunity to release and uplift the hidden sparks. Through mitzvot, acts of kindness, justice, creativity, and mindfulness, we participate in the cosmic repair. These are not empty rituals, but actions that resonate through the fabric of reality, gathering scattered light and restoring harmony. The work of Tikkun is not solitary but communal and even universal. The repair of the world requires the participation of all, and it is only through the collective efforts of humanity that the scattered sparks can be gathered and the vessels restored. The task is never finished. The world remains a site of brokenness and exile, and the work of repair is always ongoing. Yet it is precisely this unfinished quality that gives life its meaning and urgency. The void, far from being a sign of abandonment, becomes the womb of freedom and creativity, a space in which each person is called to become a co-creator, a healer, a bringer of light. Contemporary resonances, physics, philosophy, and the search for meaning. Remarkably, the mythic language of Lurianic Kabbalah finds echoes in modern scientific and philosophical thought. The quantum vacuum, for instance, is not a mere emptiness, but a field teeming with potential in which fluctuations and virtual particles give rise to reality. The universe emerges not from static order, but from symmetry breaking, chaos, and instability. Philosophically, Luria's vision challenges the dichotomies of presence and absence, being and nothingness, order and chaos. The world is not a stable given, but a site of tension and possibility, a field in which light and darkness are always intermingled, and in which the line between the sacred and the profane is never absolute. This vision invites us to embrace ambiguity, to recognize that wholeness is not the absence of brokenness, but the capacity to find meaning within it. For seekers today, the teachings of Tzimtzum and Shevirat HaKeilim offer a powerful response to the experience of alienation, silence, and exile in the modern world. The sense of divine absence is not an illusion to be dispelled, but the very condition of freedom, creativity, and responsibility. The void is not abandonment, but invitation, a call to participate in the work of repair. The ethical implications of this vision are profound. Every act of kindness, every moment of awareness, every effort to heal or restore is a step towards the gathering of sparks, the mending of vessels, the restoration of wholeness. The world is a field of brokenness, but also a field of hope, a place where the light is always waiting to be found. Conclusion: the void as womb. As we have seen, the doctrine of Tzimtzum and the myth of the shattered vessels constitute one of the most profound and imaginative responses to the questions of origin, meaning, and purpose. Lurianic Kabbalah confronts the infinite paradox of the Ein Sof, reimagines creation as an act of divine withdrawal, and locates the drama of existence in the interplay between light and darkness, presence and absence, order and chaos. The void, in this vision, is not a barren emptiness, but a fertile field, a womb in which the world is born and in which the work of repair and restoration is always underway. The shattering of the vessels is not merely a disaster, but the precondition for freedom, creativity, and the possibility of redemption. The world, with all its brokenness and exile, is also a site of potential and hope, a place in which the divine, though hidden, is always waiting to be found. For those who seek meaning in a universe that often seems indifferent or silent, the teachings of Lurianic Kabbalah offer both a challenge and a consolation. The challenge is to embrace the brokenness of the world, to recognize the presence of the void, and to take up the work of Tikkun with courage and humility. The consolation is The assurance that the void is not a sign of abandonment, but a space of possibility, a womb in which new worlds can be born, and in which the infinite light can be gathered and restored. In the end, the story of Tzimtzum and the void is not just a story about the origins of the cosmos. It is a story about the ongoing drama of human existence. Each of us is called, in our own way, to participate in the gathering of sparks, the mending of vessels, the restoration of wholeness from the fragments of exile. The work is never finished, but it is always meaningful. The void, for all its silence and absence, is also the site of encounter, transformation, and hope. If you like what you've heard, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Join us at Inner Light, Esoteric Wisdom, as we continue to explore the profound depths of mystical thought and the light concealed within the darkness of our world